Welcome to the Business Blast Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. This episode is brought to you by Authors Unite. Authors Unite provides you with the support you need to finish your book. Best part is, after you finish your book, they take care of the entire publishing and marketing process 100% for you. So, if you want to become a successful author, make sure to check out authorsunite.com. Now, let's jump into the episode. All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Business Blast Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. Today, I have Melvyn Tan with us. He is a video and business strategist. Having spent more than 14 years advising schools on strategic planning, he's decided to take a year to travel to the U.S. and Europe for a year, and then started making videos on LinkedIn. He now helps professionals build their personal brand on LinkedIn and helps businesses use videos to accelerate their growth. So welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. Grateful to have you on. Let's jump into the first one. The first one I got for you is, what is the best story from your life that has an underlying valuable message?
Well, so I would say that the best story of my life was that I decided to take 1 year off to travel to the US and Europe and with two of my kids in tow. So at the point in time, they were 3 and 5. So the four of us, we took a 1 year journey to travel. And the motivation behind that travel was twofold. One was actually we wanted our children to not just learn about, say, the Grand Canyon, to learn it from YouTube or just watching, looking at the photos. But we wanted to be there to actually experience it. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it was that during the time when I was traveling, I think one of the key things that I've learned was how to build a community on the internet and using social media. And the other aspect of it is really how to create content that people want to watch. And I think that's probably the best story I have.
And then what is the most valuable piece of information we should know that's within your expertise or industry?
Well, so I think the most valuable piece of information that people should know really is the aspect that, video is king, right? Because these days, you could write a great post, but I think people want to be able to see you. People want to be able to see your expression, who you are as a person. And I think that is primarily a very key thing, and probably arguably the thing that made me successful here on LinkedIn is because many people here in this part of the world shy away from videos because they are afraid of putting themselves out, especially on a professional platform like LinkedIn. But I think that is probably one of the biggest mistakes that they would be making because, by putting themselves out and being vulnerable, actually showcase a side of them that people might otherwise not be able to see, and as a result of that, through that whole process itself, I think people would better be able to connect with him.
And what is your best piece of overall business advice, so not necessarily industry specific?
Right. So my best piece of overall business advice is that. So number one, I think I'll do two. One is you got to ask yourself this question. Does the money stop when you stop working? So if the answer is yes, then what you have is not a business but a job, right? So that would be one of the best piece of advice that I'll give people. And really to add to that is that what you need to do is really to build assets, right? Because if you look at any real business, they have assets. So whether it's asset in form of a community, or asset in terms of the content, or assets in terms of your product.
And then if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
I once heard this podcast on the Tim Ferriss show, and he was interviewing Peter Thiel. And I think the same thing would apply, the same answer would be as Peter Thiel would be, don't wait. And many a time we think that we have to build to a certain level, we have to develop certain skills, we have to learn another skill, read another book, attend another course, buy another piece of equipment before we can start. And the advice that I would give to my younger self is start now, start early, because the faster you start, the better you become, because along the way you're going to course correct, and that would eventually bring you to your end point a lot sooner than if you were to start late.
And in your opinion, kind of going a little bit down a different path, in your opinion, what is the key to happiness?
Well, so that's really a tough question, and I think happiness is really subjective, right? So for me, the key thing with happiness is primarily this. I think at the end of the day, I want to know that my existence on this earth has been fruitful. And to me, really, is to be, as a Christian, my whole belief is that I want to be able to help other people maximize and multiply their talent. And I think at the end of the day, if I can look back and say that yes, I've done that, and I've helped as many people as I can do that, I think that would be happiness to me.
And what is the best book that you've read, and what was the number one thing you learned from that?
So that's a really hard question, because I love many of the books I read. But if I have to pick one, the best book that I've read is probably The Second Coming of Steve Jobs. The number one thing I learned from that is even so, for Steve Jobs, right? Everybody knows his epic failure, that he was being kicked out of the very company that he started. And that's arguably the most epic failure of all. And I think the key thing that I really learned from there is that every failure is just a something disguised as a path to course correct, and a path to kind of lead you to the next phase. Because had he not have been kicked out of Apple, he would not have gone on to start Nix. And arguably, the architecture and the OS behind Nix was the iteration of what the Mac OS that we now know of. So in his words, you can only connect the dots backwards. And I think that book is probably the best book that I've read. I've read it like 3 times, and I would read it again. Yeah.
Mm. And then what is your favorite quote and why?
My favorite quote is from Oscar Wilde. And the quote is, "Some people bring joy wherever they go, and some people bring joy whenever they go." So I like that. I like that quote, because at the end of the day, sometimes you are around people who are just a drain on your energy, and you just want to get away from them. And I want to be someone that people want to be around. I want to be a source of energy for people, and so the best way to really be a leader is not to tear other people down and to make yourself look good, but the best way to be a leader is to help other people build themselves, and that align to my mission. And that's why I think that's my favorite quote of all time. And plus, every time when people read that quote, they probably have to read it like twice before they get it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Dude, thank you so much for coming on. This was a very insightful interview. The last one I have for you, man, is where can our audience best find you online?
Right. So on social media, all social media, my handle is melvyn.me. So melvyn.dotme. And my website is also melvyn.me. So that's the best way that people can find me.
Perfect, man. Thanks again for jumping on.
Thank you, Tyler.
The podcast you just heard was published with Anchor. Got something you want to say to the creator of this show? Send them a voice message using the Anchor app, free for iOS and Android.